Peace. What is up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. I am OnenO, and this is week number 5 for the Course in Miracles. This week I went ahead and covered myself in bug spray because every week I've been standing out here next to this barn getting bit by mosquitoes, and I'm not having it anymore. But now I'm ready to go. You ready? Let's get into it. Welcome back. Okay, once again, I'm OnenO. Thanks for checking out this video. We are going through the 365-day Course in Miracles, week number 5, starting with lesson 29. Let's just jump straight in because there's too much to talk about and I'm trying to keep these videos as short as I can. So, lesson number 29. God is in everything I see. I'm just going to read the first little paragraph to unpack this one from the book. The idea for today explains why you can see all purpose in everything. It explains why nothing is separate, by itself, or in itself. And it explains why nothing you see means anything. In fact, it explains every idea we have used this far and all subsequent ones as well. Today's idea is the whole basis for vision. And then part of the next paragraph says, certainly God is not in a table, for example, as you see it. Yet we emphasized yesterday in lesson number 28 that a table shares the purpose of the universe, and what shares the purpose of the universe shares the purpose of its creator. So then, God is in the table. You don't think that God is in the table because you have limited your idea of who and what God is. God is in everything and is the totality of all things. Which is why in this new age world that we're living in now, people use terms like source, creator, infinite intelligence, prime creator. It goes on and on. All that is. The reason we use these words is because we're talking about that when you get to the most macro view possible, you discover that there is conscious intelligence that is in all things, that is as all things, and that is the symbol of God. So God is in everything I see, because everything that I see in front of me is a physical manifestation of the presence of God. Lesson number 30. God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. This is a beautiful lesson. It helps to show me that I have this tendency to think that God is somehow outside of me, meaning that I am encased here in my physical body and God is somewhere in the sky or is somewhere that is other than my present space. But this is clearly not true. God is in all things I see, and God is in everything I see because God is in my mind. And you can kind of see where this is going to go, but I'm not going to jump there yet. Here we go. Lesson number 31. I am not the victim of the world I see. It's very easy to start painting stories about the world I see from a victim perspective. It starts like this. It starts with comparison. Well, I'm here, I should be there. Or I'm here and this person is there and I want to be where that person is. Or I'm here and don't have this certain object and I want this object to be here. As soon as comparison begins, you lose your natural ability to just be in your space. And in doing so, you end up creating a story. Usually when you tell yourself a story, what you end up doing is putting meaning onto the world around you that may or may not be there. It is, remember, we live in a meaningless world, meaning the tree does not have any meaning other than what I ascribe to it. It does not give me the name tree, I give it the name tree. So the world does not present itself with meaning, I present the world with meaning. And there are a ton of different meanings I can give the world, one of which is that I'm a victim of it. And if I see myself as a victim, then I have aligned myself with my physical body only, and therefore with my ego. So I am not the victim of the world I see. Also on this one little note, I wanted to drop in a documentary I just watched this week called Tony Robbins, I Am Not Your Guru. It's a documentary about Tony and his whole, I think it's a 6-day course that he has that's called A Meeting with Destiny, I think or A Date with Destiny is the name of his thing that he does. If you have not seen this documentary, please go watch it. It's on Netflix. If you have a Netflix account, just check it out. And this documentary is so powerful and so fascinating. On the lines of I am not the victim of the world I see, he talks with this woman who's suicidal in the middle of this huge conference center, and she shares this story of sexual abuse, religious abuse, that started when she was so young. It literally made me cry, and I could not help but become emotional about her story. And I saw right then and there that if she can turn her life around from seeing herself as a victim of those things to becoming an empowered teacher and an empowered spiritual healer, which is now the path she's on thanks to the help of Tony, then anyone can do it. I don't have a story even half as hard as she does. I'm gonna wait for the plane, 1 second. So I highly recommend you checking out that documentary. Again, it's Tony Robbins, I Am Not Your Guru. Check it out. Lesson number 32, I have invented the world I see. I stand here in the middle of a meaningless environment, and I ascribe the meaning to it. And therefore, when I do, I invent my own world that I think I am perceiving. And that's what I get from this whole message right here. I don't think there's anything I want to read out of it. I think that's how I'm just going to summarize it. By you ascribing meaning to the world around you, you are inventing the world that you think exists in front of you. Lesson number 33. There is another way of looking at the world. So again, because the world itself is meaningless and I ascribe the meaning to the world, I have invented the world I see, but that is only one possibility, one meaning that has been ascribed to the world. So there's always another way of looking at the world. There's always another way of perceiving my story. And in fact, when you create a story, you are limiting the infinite thing that you're into one story. And if you've made your story that you are a victim or that you are somehow disconnected and separate from the world, well, the good news is there's another way of seeing. There's always another way to see the world. If you have interpreted part of your scenario as being a victim, there's always another way of perceiving yourself that don't include being a victim. But it is hard, and I get that. It's hard for me too. It's hard for me to actually get myself into that headspace. But the promise and the hope is that there is another way of looking at the world. Lesson number 34. I could see peace instead of this. When you're telling yourself a very deep mental story that involves you being a victim, the good news is there's always another way of looking at the world, and there's always a peaceful way you can perceive the world instead of the way of your attack thoughts, which are really an expression of you feeling like a victim. Let me read just a couple sentences from this paragraph. Peace of mind is clearly an internal matter. It must begin with your own thoughts and then extend outwards. It is from your peace of mind that a peaceful perception of the world arises. Peace will never come up to you and convince you that it exists, especially if you're in a place of peace or of non-peace, especially if you're in a place of attack, defense, and egocentric mentality. Peace won't even be able to get your attention. So you have to discover peace internally first, and then the world will show it to yourself as peaceful. especially considering that you live in a reflected reality. All of life is here to reflect back to you what's going on inside of your consciousness. And last, lesson number 35. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. I want to read just these first 2 paragraphs, and then we're going to wrap it up. Today's idea does not describe the way you see yourself now. It does, however, describe what vision will show you. It is difficult for anyone who thinks he is in this world to believe this of himself. Yet the reason he thinks he is in this world is because he does not believe it. You will believe that you are part of where you think you are. This is because you surround yourself with the environment you want, and you want it to protect the image of yourself that you have made. The image is part of this environment. What you see while you believe you are in this environment is seen through the eyes of the image. This is not vision. Images cannot see. I'll extrapolate that word images. It means a kind of perception, a projection that you think but has no tangible reality. And my story of being a victim and my thoughts then of defense and attack, these are all unreal things. And again, the very beginning of the Course in Miracles states, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists, therein lies the peace of God. That's where we're going to wrap it up today. So, I encourage you to just go within once again and start to identify the ways in which you have separated yourself from the mind of God. For God is in your mind and you are in the mind of God. God is in your heart and you are in the heart of God. You cannot be anywhere else even if you tried. That's the trick of your ego, and that's called delusion. Delusion does not have any tangible evidence. Delusion is the denial of all tangible evidence. And who you are is an undeniably perfectly created being made in the image of God. Not meaning made how God looks like, but meaning that everything that you are is an expression of God. All of the good, all of the bad is all an expression of God, therefore you are holy. And I am starting to understand that even all negativity that I perceive as negative is still comes down to meaning, which is ultimately my own interpretation of reality. But nonetheless, good and evil are a dance that play in my consciousness, not in the world. It is only in my mind that I become concerned with things like good and evil. But the world, and in the reality that has no such ideas of good and evil, I am already perfect, I am already whole, and I am already holy. Because God is in me, as me, working through me, working for me. Because I can never be separate from God, there's not even any need then for atonement or repentance in that sense. The atonement has already been attained. Joseph Campbell always uses the word atonement. He spells it out hyphenated in all of his books. At one ment, atonement. And it is my at one ment with my Creator that can never be broken. Therefore, the atonement does not need to be attained because the atonement is the thing that I already am. I already am in connection with God. I am in the mind of God, and God is in my mind. I am in the heart of God, and God is in my heart. We are one. And that's where I'm going to end my rant for today. Thank you so much for listening. Again, check out the website. Go to amoneno.com. Read the blog, sign the email list. Please don't forget to hit subscribe and like this video. Share a comment down below if there's something that you want to talk about. And let's make this a conversation. Until I see you again along the path, oneness in sound, I am OnenO. Peace.